Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this CoinW live stream. My name is Gareth Jenkinson. I'm the head of multimedia at Cointelegraph. I've been a journalist and a broadcaster covering the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency ecosystem since 2017, so I've been around for quite some time. We're going to be getting into the discussion of the day, but before we do that, please do go ahead, like and retweet this live stream or this X Space, however you are listening and joining us today and wherever you are. Good morning. I've got a hot cup of coffee and I'm ready to have a fantastic conversation. If you are just joining us, the topic for today is when systems are under stress, what infrastructure really matters in extreme scenarios. And before we get into that, I'm just going to do a quick intro of who we've got joining us today. We've got the CEO of Matus, Tom. We've got Michael, who's the Chief Security Consultant at CoinW. And then, of course, we've got Ganesh, who's the Head of Developer Relations at Pharos. And just to give you some context and paint a picture of the conversation that we're going to be having today, we're really going to be delving into the need for decentralized systems and an alternative to the current monetary systems that we have. And in order to do that, let's take a working example. Venezuela in January 2026 has become a real world stress test. It's been marked by hyperinflation, infrastructure deterioration, and an exodus of 8 million people. There's been a huge amount of political instability in the country. And of course, the local currency has hyperinflated. We've seen a very similar situation in Iran over the past 2 months. And one would hope that a lot of people had managed to get their hands on Bitcoin or USDT, US-based stablecoins, so that they could have some sort of a hedge and at least retain some value of the money that they'd have in savings as the local currency devalued completely. So here's the critical question. When traditional financial systems begin to fail and millions of people suddenly need to transfer money across borders, exchange stable coins, process high-frequency micropayments, can blockchain infrastructure actually hold up and prove its worth? Is it reliable and stable enough to serve as a genuine alternative? I would say yes. But I'm biased. I've been in this industry a long time, 8 years already. I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. I'm a big believer in stable coins and the infrastructure that we've built. So we're going to be diving into this conversation. But before I hog the mic any longer, let's quickly greet everyone. Tom, Michael, Ganesh, how are you gentlemen doing today?
Great, Garrett. Thanks for having me, and it's great to join the rest of the panels as well.
Yeah, it's going good, productive. Really excited to be here.
Okay,
Fantastic.
thank you. I'm here. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's get into the first question of the morning. I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on what systemic stress actually looks like in extreme environments. And obviously, I've given the example of Venezuela and Iran, two countries that are grappling with hyperinflation and political instability. And for me, that's the perfect use case or the perfect argument for why Bitcoin and other decentralized cryptocurrencies matter. Let's start there. Do you think that this sort of systemic stress is the best example of why we need decentralized tools and systems? Tom, I'm going to throw it at you first.
Yeah, it's great to be here. In terms of the systemic crisis and the stress, I'm going to dial it down just a little bit more granular. You talk about Venezuela and also Iran, but we had a time where we had to deal with FTX, collapse of some of these, financial centralized entities. And from I would say a smaller scale, people got their funds stuck. They were a limit on their withdrawal. Maybe there was a delay on withdrawal. And you see that with even some projects as well. They are, they have an inflation of tokens, so they restrict you on how much you can really claim. They extend kind of like the time where you can also claim. So from that, I believe decentralization is the key. And when that happened with FTX, everybody was flooding back onto the exchange or decentralized networks as well. Same thing with trading on perp trading. You're seeing kind of the pros and cons and the arguments recently with some of the events happening on-chain and off-chain with some of these centralized exchanges that have caused, or they quote unquote said that caused that cascade that affected the whole market. But there's no transparency. So in terms of decentralization, here at Metis, it's been our ethos since day one, and we're still building on that kind of ethos where decentralized is the key. That's why we're in this industry. And if you're not building along and supporting that, I'm not sure why you're building in the decentralized infrastructure network.
Beautiful. I love it. Yanesh, I'm gonna draft you in next. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of extreme situations that really hammers home the importance of the infrastructure that we're all building?
Well, definitely, if you see recently, there was an attack on the Windows systems, which affected the kernel level architecture of the OS. And a lot of other ecosystems got hampered, like a lot of flights, a lot of hospitals, airports got halted for a very long time, and it created a huge massacre because of the centralized situation until the Windows fix it and release the patch and everything happens. So similarly, these kind of situations would not have occurred if we rely on the blockchain and the decentralized infrastructure in those many cases. And usually in the situations of crisis, these kind of situations really help when you have a decentralized network to operate on all your financials and funds, and you don't have to rely on a centralized infrastructure. Let's say in a situation where there's a massacre happening in a particular region, a war like a situation is happening. In that case, the banking networks are shut down, the internet is not really working really well. So who would you rely on with your funds? The banks that are getting shut down, the governments that are getting shut down, or a decentralized infrastructure network where you can operate your networks across the globe.
Michael, you want to jump in here and talk a little bit about extreme situations that we've seen in the last few years, and perhaps what what it's done to drive people towards looking for alternatives in the Web3 space?
Yes, just I want to add some real scenario, because we have a college who is located in Iran. So as you mentioned, recently Iran happened a lot of things, especially Iran's the high inflation and also their capital control, so they cannot transfer money overseas. They suffer a lot of this financial stress. I think based on because they working for CoinW, so he received their salary by the crypto. So in his scenario, I just talked to him a few days ago. I think he feel nothing because he received stable coin as a salary, so they are not affected by the high inflation of the local currency, and also if they want to transfer their their money to overseas, like buying some service from overseas, there's no problem with him. So in this kind of from his case, in this kind of critical scenario, if he because he using the decentralized infrastructure, blockchain and crypto, he feel nothing about his life. So I think in the future, the decentralized infrastructure and also crypto and blockchain is a kind of financial freedom for the people in this kind of very tough situation. Yeah, that's my point.
Beautiful. I think you summed it up really well, and really tied it back to a real world example. And I think a lot of us know people that live in countries like that. I mean, I'm from South Africa. I lived in different African countries growing up, and I watched with keen interest. Just for example, as Uganda had their presidential elections last week, and the Ugandan government shut down the internet connection. They've done this the last 2 or 3 election cycles in an effort to stop the flow of information and communication. And obviously, the incumbent president, Yoweri Museveni, has been in power for 40 years. It's very much an autocracy. And Ugandans in the lead up to the election started downloading BitChat, which is a Bluetooth mesh peer-to-peer messaging application that was developed by Jack Dorsey, the creator of Twitter. And over 1 million Ugandans downloaded that app. Obviously, it didn't change the outcome of the election, But it was really interesting to see that people, even in developing countries, will download and use decentralized infrastructure or decentralized software if their freedoms are impeded. And I think more and more people are coming to realize that we already have the tools and services to give us an opt-out when we're facing hyperinflation or we're facing draconian sort of government measures. I'm going to throw this back to Yanesh, I think, for the next question. Do you think more and more people are actually understanding the importance and the actual utility of Web3 systems? I mean, whether we're talking about stable coins, whether we're talking about Bitcoin, whether we're talking about decentralized peer-to-peer messaging, are people actually turning to these protocols and these systems when the traditional systems that they've relied on for so long are beginning to fail?
Well, definitely, if we see like the huge market is going to shift towards these crypto assets. If we talk about payments in general, the global economy runs on swift payment channel across the borders. But if we bring those channels to on-chain, the settlements can happen instantly without any issues, without any worries, and even with transparency. So you see like the current banking system, Visa, MasterCard payment systems, payment pay rails, take usually T plus 3 plus T plus 7 times of days of settlement time, which is really longer for anyone operating in the financial world right now where everything is so instant. And on top of that, you have hidden Forex markup fees and other hidden fees and charges, which are completely not transparent to both the parties. And the intermediary has the overall control over all these settlements. So there's been a huge shift where people are moving towards the billions of transactions annually to bring it on chain. And with bringing them on chain, they can definitely have the transparency to operate in a network like this, where they have instant finality, no hidden charges, and easily Forex exchanges because you can trade in local stable coins. Like if you see like in the recent times, the dominance of USDT and USDC is being brought down by a lot of regional stable coins. Like markets like UAE are introducing dirham-based stable coin, and markets like Japan are introducing Japan-based stable coin, and all of these are getting into the highlights. New frameworks are being designed, let's say in the Hong Kong market, new frameworks are designed to introduce the stablecoin in those markets. And all of this is directly be pegged to their local stable currency or the fiat currency. And definitely it's a huge win uh, since we are also building the infrastructure at Pharos, which is internet at scale, where we'll provide you the same user experience, same speed and latency that you experience on any other Web2 system while building your products. So that's how we align ourselves with this huge shift in the market. And yeah, I believe a lot of businesses are yet to come on board. But yeah, the shift is happening and they're definitely turning towards Web3 for all these solutions.
Tom, when you look at examples of countries that have had these spectacular collapses and like currency hyperinflation, Venezuela, Lebanon, what is the most paralyzing structural flaw of the traditional financial system? Is it the central banks? Is it the ability of the banks to freeze your funds? The inability of people to get their money out when they really need to most? Or is it all of these things altogether?
I think it's all of the things you mentioned, but basically it's kind of the fundamental financial system that's built on the legacy model, right? The central banks controls your capital. Once you deposit, you can't freely access it 24/7. You have to wait when they open, and also you have to verify yourself and maybe double verify yourself that this is your account. So in terms of when something goes wrong in these countries, fortunately, I've never experienced that being in the US, but hearing stories and from the news, these patrons cannot access their capital, they're withdrawn, or they don't open the doors, right? They limit the withdrawals because these banks, they rehypothecate this capital and leverage it. Technically, their balance sheet is basically based on your assets. So it's not really your keys or your assets once you give to the bank. Now they have the ability to really monetize on that, fuel their financial instruments to really capitalize on the commercial side. So I think it's all of the above, which is truly similar to kind of the example I shared with the centralized exchanges. They have limits where and control of your assets where you can't freely access at any time. And even if you have the rights, they hold the key and authority to even limit you with maybe unbiased kind of authoritative, command. So in general, I think just all of the above is basically the traditional financial systems currently the way it's built. But I'm really I'm glad to see that DeFi is really gaining attention, respect as well. There's still some risk in terms of the DeFi side, but we've made great leap of evolution from just a few years ago. Now Aave is a respected DeFi protocol that is mentioned quite often, and it's a great representative of our industry. So we're building great products, and we're building I think, towards something that is really needed in the world today.
Let's talk a little bit about DeFi and PayFi and its ability to kind of protect people from hyperinflation and grow in value instead of losing value, as opposed to the traditional financial system. Have we reached a point now where the DeFi protocols and the underlying value of the blockchain protocols and their tokens themselves have ticked that box? Have we solved the hyperinflation problem? I'm gonna throw this one to Tom and Yanesh, and then I'll pull Michael in back into the conversation for our shift to AI.
I think that question is basically PayFi doesn't omit inflation or hyperinflation. It gives you the tool and the routes to maybe move assets quicker. If we're using stablecoins that's based on the dollar, we are still exposed to inflation, but maybe not hyperinflation. So you have the opportunity to move your asset quicker, and you also have the ability to truly maybe monetize your asset in other ways that's not possible. Maybe you're in a third world country that you want to have access to a T-bill and exposure to some of the upside. Well, you can move quickly in a cross-border manner into different stablecoins in DeFi. But traditional banking, there's a lot of question, and a lot of countries still regulate their capital and have strong capital control. In a lot of emerging markets, even in some, I would say, in some of the Asian countries as well. So in terms of PayFi, I don't think it fully protects you, but it gives you the ability to manage and also decide where you want to move your assets freely.
Yanesh?
Well, definitely, I agree with Tom on this part that we cannot avoid hyperinflation because all the stable coins are directly pegged to your in regional fiat currencies. But yeah, definitely, it gives you the power to move your assets freely across the globe, and it gives you the control that whether you want to stick with one stable coin or you want to move with another stable coin. And with the whole DeFi ecosystem suite in general, if you're holding your stable coins locked and allowing it into the DeFi strategies, and you can earn yield on top of that without relying on a fiat-based currency, which is just sitting in your banking accounts, not doing anything actively. But here you can lend, borrow, generate yields through DeFi protocols, and generate much more value. And it also gives you the access to invest in various RWAs and other assets which were currently not available for everyone to invest in. So it gives you the overall power of investing and the control that whatever you want to do with your stable coins, you can really do that borderless without any issues. Like if you want to invest in real estate in UAE, you can definitely do that. If you just want to invest in T-bills in US, you can do that. But if you just want to generate yields on top of your stable coins, you can also do that. And if you don't like your current stable coin, you can swap it with any other stable coin which you are much more preferred with.
Yeah, and I'll just back that up with two real working examples of perhaps blockchain-based tokens that do solve the hyperinflation problem. I mean, I'm a big Bitcoin advocate, so I would always kind of say to people, if you really want to understand how money works and why we have a really great decentralized alternative, Bitcoin does that. Go and read up about it. But if you're perhaps more inclined to believe in the value proposition of gold and similar assets, there are some fantastic protocols that are already doing this. We've got Tether Gold, which is essentially tokenizing gold and giving you access to gold in a tokenized form. And Kyrgyzstan recently launched USDKG, which the Cointelegraph team documented in depth for our YouTube channel. You can go and find that on Cointelegraph's YouTube channel. But essentially, they've launched a stable coin that is backed by gold. So they're moving back to a gold standard currency, but using the technology that we've built and giving people, the peace of mind of being able to hold a stable coin that is tied to physical gold holdings. And of course, that gives nation states like Kyrgyzstan, which is fairly mineral rich. They've got, loads of gold deposits, and an alternative to take something to market and give people the option to use a form of currency or value that they can either use as money or a store of value. And that ticks those boxes. So I think there's plenty of examples here where, PayFi, DeFi, these protocols can give people an alternative to the traditional financial system that we've all been, beholden to for many, many decades, many centuries even. Let's shift the conversation a bit to AI, because Michael's got a PhD in cybersecurity, and obviously Matus has integrated AI. But let's just talk a little bit about AI and how the blockchain ecosystem is actually using AI. Michael, let's start with you. From a Web3 perspective, is AI making us safer, or is it potentially a risk to the space? How do you see this kind of playing out, and do you think that we are making the most of AI tools and infrastructure at the moment?
As I study AI when I pursue my PhD degree. At that time, we are using AI to analyzing the network traffic to find some kind of abnormal behavior, to see whether there is kind of attack in the network level, the cybersecurity level. So I think in the Web3 area, especially in our CoinW exchange. So AI right now is a kind of fashion. It's not kind of fashion. It's a kind of very, very powerful tools for for a security person to use, because in our real environment, we're using AI to analyzing the mass amount of logs which generated by our application system, to see whether there's kind of abnormal behavior happen on our clients. So if there anything happen, we can we will be alerted, and then we'll deal with this kind of abnormal or maybe it's a kind of attack. And also with AI, we are analyzing the traffic, the network traffic. So it's my major in my PhD study. So all the traffic, network traffic is analyzed. Before AI, we analyzing this kind of traffic by our security analyst. That's a human effort. We put a lot of human efforts on analyzing the traffic, but it takes a lot of time, and also the response time is very long. But with AI tools, it's very, very powerful tools. We can analyzing the traffic data in almost in the real time. So if there any attack happen in the cyber area, and also our security person will be alerted, and now we will deal with that. And also another very important part for AI in CoinW is that the risk control system. So before AI, we have set a lot of rules to control, the risk, especially the risk related to the asset, crypto asset. But with AI, we can not just follow the rules. The AI can analyzing the traffic, not the traffic, the cash flow, the fund flow from which means your crypto from address 1 to address 3, or address 3 from address 2 to address 3. So this is kind of transaction path. So we are also using AI to analyzing the transaction path to avoid any fraud behavior happened with your fund. So in CoinW, we're using AI in most of the place, not just in these 3 areas, but also to improve our efficiency of operation, because as a platform, we always release new version to help our developers to to make this kind of upgrade more efficient. So we're using AI to help our developers, and also the code review. We right now using AI to do the code review to ensure there's no vulnerability code or malicious code in our source, in our system. So AI is already being used in CoinW for many areas. So we know that AI is a very powerful tool, and as you mentioned, AI is also another a tool for the hackers, because right now you can see a lot of news from the public that the hackers are using AI to explore the vulnerability of some crypto exchange platform. So I think that AI is a powerful tool for both sides. It depends on how people use that, how you can maximize the AI's power. So at CoinW, we are very open for AI. We are using AI to enhance our security mechanism everywhere. So I think with AI we can do more. We can do more work than the attackers. So that's my point, my option, my opinion. Yes.
Thanks, Michael. I think, yeah, you gave us a really good rundown of how you're making use of these AI tools. Tom, I'm very curious how Matus has integrated AI and your general thoughts on AI, the good, the bad, for security, etc.
Yeah, I think a good way to look at AI and how you're asking the question, Garrett, is AI good or bad? Is it being weaponized or is it helping us? I think you got to think about it as water, right? Water gives life, but it can also cause damage. It can also bring death. Same thing with fire. It's a resource. AI is a resource for us. How we wield it, how we use it, it depends on the people that are using it. From the Meta's perspective, we feel decentralization and blockchain bring something very unique to this space. Being able to verify, create trustless environment. Now, how do we apply this? If we can adopt this in every AI model, we can verify where it's coming from, if it's trustworthy, and the source. So this gives us the ability to put rule-based on these agents. Another example is, okay, there's big, I would say petty crimes in California, but people are blaming the government, but the law allows this to a certain limit. That's why the environment's the same way. So if agents are acting maliciously or AI is not acting correctly, maybe we don't have the trust framework that allows or controls some of this kind of malicious act. And for us to do this, we feel that it's a huge area that we have to tackle. And from our side, we have Laz AI, a AI application layer that provides this infrastructure, help verify, label data with our data anchoring token. It's a new token standard that allows you to put serial number in a way to these data, so it's sourced. And actually, if there's a framework where you can grade it, at least you can validate, hey, this data is coming from a trusted source. We can interact with it, no issues. So from our side, and my perspective and in my opinion, I think it just depends how we use it. Same thing as war, right? We in the US we call it the Patriot missile, right? But it's a missile, but it's supposed to protect, but it also destroys. So I think it's a double-edged sword. It just depends who holds the keys and who really is operating these tools and their intent.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Michael and Janesh, I'm gonna throw this one at you before I wrap up with the final question. When it comes to the future of Web3 products, whether that's a cryptocurrency exchange, whether it's a wallet, whether it's a DeFi protocol, how do we balance a frictionless user experience with absolute security? And just to paint some context there, last year in 2025, we had the Bybit hack, which was very much tied to Safe Wallet and what happened there. But that's a prime example of most of us assuming that we've got security figured out until something really bad happens. And I mean, if I was answering the question, I would say that security comes first always. But of course, user experience is so important, especially when we're onboarding new people into a new kind of like the future of finance. It's hard for someone to understand what Bitcoin is, let alone download an app and do XYZ, unless the user experience feels very similar to the Web 2 applications that they're used to using. So how do you see this balance between user experience and security? And how do you ensure that security always remains paramount? Michael, let's start with you.
I think as a exchange platform, we always put our user experience as the first priority. But another most important thing is the security. Security is I think we treat security as our life, because without security, we are nothing. We are nothing. Especially for clients, they are more serious about their asset. If their asset was stolen or they lost their asset in our platform, there will be a big issue for us. So I think how to balance these 2 points is what we need to understand, to see how as you mentioned, people download the app, and then the people need to passing the KYC and also setting some, password or passkey or this kind of, traditional security method. And I think for our security mechanism, I think most of the another part, most of important work in our side is in the backend. Because as I mentioned, in the front end, it's the user how to using our app, but in the back end, we need to make all the user experience very smoothly, because in the back end we have a security system in place to analyzing the as I mentioned, the risk and also the behavior and also the network traffic. So, for example, you're using your app in different country, and also maybe you're using your app in the different time zone, and also maybe because sometimes you're using your app in the usually I think it's a kind of behavior analysis. Usually, for example, you will access your asset in the daytime somewhere, but there's when our backend security system detect that your behavior is not in the normal behavior. And then we will adding another layer security mechanism to ask you to verify yourself. So this is an how to say is a flexible way to balance the user experience and also the security. But most of the time, if you using your system, your app in the same pattern, which means in the same country or maybe in the same time zone, and also the behavior following into your normal behavior. Sample. So, and then you will not asking to verify yourself anymore. So, yeah, I think this is how we do in the backend. We try our best to make our clients feel better, but security is always the most important part, because no one want to lose his asset. So that's my understanding between the user experience and the security. But we will try our best to make our app or make our system more user friendly. Yeah.
Janesh, I'm curious to hear your thought. This balancing act.
Well, definitely security is a very paramount thing for any ecosystem out there, whether it's Web 2 and Web 3, because it makes it very controversial that we always talk about how to make crypto more and more secure, when we have to see, like, in the Web 2 space, the security is also very important, because a lot of systems can get easily attacked. A lot of government websites and portals are so vulnerable to attacks. People are not even aware of that. So we just don't need to question Web3 as such, because we are the ones who are building our infrastructure on the basis of cryptography, whether it's zero knowledge or other important cryptographic parameters that we are following to protect our public keys and private keys. And definitely we are designing the systems for the backend side where the users doesn't have to realize that they are actually using it on a blockchain. That's the first important thing that we have to balance out on the user experience side, that they don't have to realize that what's happening on the backend side. And the most important thing is adoption. The more the adoption, the more we will be able to improve the user experience. I mean, we cannot improve the user experience in silos. So we need to incorporate and design the protocols which can easily be integrated with the Web2 ecosystems right now, which can have some real world use cases like payments and other solutions that we can actually rely on for users to use it in a Web3 environment. I mean, that's where I see the balance between the user experience and security really matters, where we are trying to secure the overall infrastructure more and more. And the only thing that we can provide is reduce the single point of failures through multi-party computations, have social logins and social backups for your public keys and private keys for accessibility. So users get the same experience that they are using right now until they completely shift to a public key based and private key based environment. So the shift is going to be pretty slow, but the more important thing is adoption, how well we can adopt the users from Web2 to Web3 and actually provide them a more secured environment than just relying on their simple banking apps that are completely centralized to a decentralized neobank where things are decentralized and even private. So their funds are much more secured because the custody of the funds stay in their hands.
Yeah, beautiful. Tom, I'm going to draft you back in to finish the conversation. From your perspective, for us to really get to the survival grade infrastructure kind of point, where do we need the big breakthrough? Is it technology? Is it education? Is it adoption? As Janice has just said, wrap things up for us with a banger quote.
Hey
Tom?
Garrett, sorry,
Yeah.
I lost audio for a second, but
That's
I
okay.
think you're asking kind of the last question. Am I correct?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm gonna try to read your lips and
go ahead.
decide. But in terms of like the survival grade infrastructure, I think the key thing is users. We need use case. That's the only way we survive. Why are we building this tech? We need great use case. The tech could be the greatest tech. You could have the fastest racetrack, but if it's not in use, then why build it? I think we're in that kind of environment as well. For us, from the meta side, we've been around for quite a few years, been through many cycles, and see the challenges of a lot of networks. We have a lot of L2s, different kind of infrastructure L1s, but actually the activity is really low. So now, as from the foundation side, from the operating team side, we see that it needs to have use case. Polymarkets is a great use case as well for Matic or Pol, and that's what we really need. We need an economic flywheel that drives engagement and a reason for them to be on chain. So in terms of a survival grade, infrastructure, we need use cases, not just users, real use cases that also have an incentive model. And we see data is also a use case that is going on chain, and that will be kind of the next, I would say, market for people to really interact with. We see the globalization of trade a few years ago. Now we're seeing globalization of the financial system. Soon we will see globalization of data, information. Still, like in Iran, information is restricted. In some of these countries, information is restricted. But with blockchain, we open up the market. This is something that's inevitable. I think some of the countries aren't changing fast enough, so they're playing catch up. But the people will demand this openness. That's why you're seeing stable coins. That's why you see blockchain really shaping the political reform in a lot of countries. And data is going to do the same thing. And for us, we see that and we're pushing that. We have Laz AI, we have ZKM, and we're building out Goat Network as well as a BTC infrastructure to really facilitate and support kind of this globalization of data, asset, RWA, tokenization. So from my point of view, I think use case and also it's inevitable that we're going this way, and blockchain will provide that solution.
Beautiful. Very, very well said. I'm not sure if Tom can hear me and we lost Michael, but we'll wrap things up there. Thank you so much to everyone out there who joined us on this live stream. If you enjoyed the conversation, please go ahead, like and retweet the stream, and feel free to drop some questions in the comments. Tag either Janesh, Tom, or Michael if you have any burning questions for them and their specific products and projects. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you back for the next CoinW live stream, whenever that may be. And have a fantastic day further, and we'll catch you next time.